Alrighty, good morning to those in Reunion, Madagascar, and even portions of southeastern Mozambique. Today we're going to be discussing newly named Tropical Cyclone Gazani, which is going to be approaching Madagascar over the next really 3 days or so, potentially plowing into it as a major cyclone. Again, if you have any questions, you can always leave them in the chat, and I will gladly answer them towards the later part of the live stream. But first, I'm going to be giving you all a broad overview of this system and how it's looking, and the kind of impacts that Madagascar, Mozambique, Reunion could be seeing over the next few days. All right, let's just verify that this is working. Okay, seems to be good, and there we go. Okay, so for starters, the system currently is now a tropical storm. It is a low to moderate tropical storm right now with winds of around 40 to 45 knots. It is expected to gradually or potentially even rapidly intensify into a cyclone within the next 36 hours, before then continuing to intensify even further by hour 48 as a high in Category 1, before it then makes landfall somewhere in Toamasina in Madagascar there as a Category 2, maybe even Category 3 cyclone, potentially delivering major impacts. We'll get to those impacts in a little bit. It then will quickly weaken as it moves through the more mountainous terrain of Madagascar down to a tropical storm by day 3, but it is expected to survive as a tropical cyclone by the time it enters the Mozambique Channel and potentially intensify even further to a severe tropical storm by the time we get to day 5, approaching Mozambique. Now, it could curve towards the south after the end of this 5-day forecast, or it could keep going towards Mozambique. It's a little bit uncertain, but currently the day 5 point has it just off the coast of Mozambique. Now, getting into the impacts that the system could bring across countries like Reunion, Madagascar, and Mozambique. Well, marginal impacts are expected for Reunion, mainly for just some wind and gusty winds and some light rain. And then a large portion of Madagascar here, including the really the entirety of Toamasina and the northern portions of Madagascar, Mahajanga, those regions, and also portions of Mozambique are also now highlighted in that marginal category of impacts. Now, stepping it up to slight impacts, what do we mean by that? Well, noticeable storm conditions with gusts capable of knocking down tree limbs and causing power outages. Localized flooding may affect low spots. Now, there's going to be a mixture of those impacts, both rain and wind in these yellow areas. So it does, of course, include the areas in Toamasina around where it's going to be making landfall, and even portions farther inland towards Mahajanga there, and then even portions of eastern central Mozambique could be getting some of those slight impacts as well, depending on how close it gets to the coast and if it does make a landfall or not. Now, stepping it up to moderate impacts, we are still talking about flooding and also wind. Damaging winds may snap trees and tear weaker roofs. Flooding of neighborhoods and small rivers are possible, making some roads impassable. That is going to be a portion of Toamasina, really confined to Toamasina there, in the central portions there. Again, wind and rain impacts are going to be expected in that location in around the next 2 to 3 days. Now, there is the possibility of major impacts both for rain and wind, and we'll discuss what that means. Severe winds can cause large-scale structural damage and long-lasting power and communication outages, life-threatening flooding in vulnerable areas. That does include the portions very close to the coast of Toamasina, wherever the system makes landfall, and if it does make landfall as a major cyclone, they could be seeing those major impacts. Fortunately, you all still have time to prepare. If you are currently in Madagascar, you're around the 48-hour mark, I'd say, in terms of how much time you have left to really prepare. So at this point in time, you should have already checked Forecast Daily. If you're already subscribed to the channel, then you can check that right off. You should have restocked essentials, things like food, water, paper towels, batteries, medications, reviewing your evacuation zone routes, and removing all loose debris. You should have already done this section right now. Now, the next section that you should have already done is going to be this area in orange here, washing clothes and dishes, backing up imported documents, cleaning gutters and storm drains, mainly get ahead of the storm before it starts raining. Now you are around 48 hours away from impact, so at this point you should be charging all your devices, move valuables to higher ground, and begin securing outdoor items, and you should be preparing a safe room with supplies and bedding, especially if you're in those areas highlighted in orange and red. And I'll show the map again right over here. If you're in those areas, you should be really starting to hunker down, or I mean really prepare to hunker down for the system as it nears you. Alright, now going over to the world of tropics right now, and this is a little bit out of date, so this is a couple hours, but 90S is now Gezani. It has been officially named. But we do have a fair amount going on besides just Gezani. We really only have one system to be watching out for. But in going in order, we have, of course, Gezani 90S, or winds of around 45 to 50 miles an hour. We just discussed where that system is going. We also have Fatia here, still the remnants of it as a post-tropical cyclone. We do also have an area of interest here with a 20% chance of development that could be also nearing Madagascar beyond the 7-day range. It's a bit uncertain. Chances have gone down to 20% on that. We do have Cyclone Mitchell here, which is a high-end Category 1, winds of around 90 to 100 miles an hour. The system is going to be making landfall, or is already making landfall on one of those islands in Australia. We do also have an area of interest here with a 10% chance of developments just around New Caledonia and northeastern Australia. Those chances have gone down to 10%. We are currently code red for Gezani and code yellow for Mitchell. So that's why we're currently doing updates every 2 days. Let's see, there we go. Updates every 2 days for Gezani. Now, I did want to mention, if you are in Madagascar and eastern Mozambique, or even Reunion and Mauritius, if you can, please consider reaching out to me. I am potentially going to be chasing there over the next few years for any tropical cyclones impacting those areas. So, if you haven't already, please consider reaching out to me. And the same goes for those areas in coastal Australia. Now, looking at this satellite imagery of Gezani, we can see the low-level center circulation located right around here, and we can see the convection displaced a little bit on the northern side of it. We can see the islands of course, Mauritius and Reunion down here, not really getting a whole lot of impact. Some of these rain bands are about to impact portions of Reunion. Now, looking at infrared imagery, we can see some of those bursts of thunderstorms, though. There's convection there, and that little black coloring isn't really looking too organized right now, but that's what we'd expect over the past, really, 48 hours or so. We should see some more organization over the next 24 to 48 hours, so that by the time the next update comes out, it should be looking significantly better. Now, what are the environmental conditions like for the system going forward? Well, starting off with sea surface temperatures, it's currently around 29 degrees Celsius, which is very favorable here. Anything in this yellow color or higher is going to be favorable for the system to intensify. The waters will cool down slightly, but they really remain around 28 to 29 degrees Celsius, so it's very warm for the system to rapidly intensify up until its landfall in Madagascar. Now, covering the longer range track and other environmental conditions, well, it is expected to intensify because shear is expected to remain quite low, and that will allow it to really blossom into a very powerful tropical cyclone. Really, time is what's limiting its ability to really just become such a major cyclone. Now, dry air is also going to be a concern for the system, but it does get a little bit more moist as it gets closer to the coast, so really environmental conditions only get better and better up until it makes its landfall. That's why we're really only expecting intensification until it makes that landfall, and then it should weaken quite a bit. Now, looking at distances from certain locations right now, it is around 250 kilometers away from Mauritius and around 360 kilometers away from Reunion. Looking at the coast of Madagascar, it's around 780 kilometers away, and Toamasina is around 780 kilometers. Looking at Mahajanga, it's around 1,100 kilometers away, and Mozambique is down to around 1,800 kilometers. Alright. Now, I did want to go over some of the model runs of the system, starting off with the European AI model. Now, the 12Z run, which was a little bit ago, it did have it making landfall as a cyclone, which is an interesting uptrend because earlier it wasn't really showing it being that powerful. It did uptrend quite a bit, but in the most recent run, it's gone down a little bit. It's not initializing it that well, in my opinion. It does have it reforming into a tropical cyclone again before impacting portions of Mozambique, but it does keep it rather weak. Looking at a model like the European run, it doesn't show it intensifying too much. It does nearly get to cyclone status. But then when it enters the Mozambique channel, it does become a decently powerful cyclone, but it does, interestingly enough, remain quite a small storm. Then going to the American run on what it wants the system to do, it does keep it a little bit to the north. It does make landfall as a cyclone. By the time it enters the Mozambique channel, it begins to rapidly intensify. This is a possibility, and the American run is a little bit on the northern side of guidance. We can also see another system, that area with a 20% chance of development behind it. Could swing close to the islands of Reunion and Mauritius, but overall it's a bit uncertain this far out. And then looking at the Canadian run, this is the run that wants the most amount of rainfall to be impacting portions of Madagascar. Does have it making landfall nearly as a cyclone in Madagascar, then does reemerge into the Mozambique channel there, becomes a cyclone, and then moves over Mozambique and Zimbabwe. Now I did want to discuss the Google AI ensembles, because these are the ones that have uptrended quite a bit recently. Let's see if the newer ones are out. Yes, they are. The 18 Zulu run. Here, it does have it becoming a Category 1 to Category 2 cyclone before making landfall. Interestingly enough, it looks like it's trended south, maybe. Let me just verify that. Yeah, it has trended a little bit to the south. Here you can see this ensemble mean has gone south towards Toamasina. Let's see here. And wherever it makes landfall, these surge impacts will be worse on the southern side here. So really these areas in Toamasina should be really watching out for the system as it goes potentially to the north. Alright, and then overall it does nearly become a cyclone again by the time it nears Mozambique there. Pretty powerful, severe tropical storm. But it has shifted somewhat to the south compared to a little bit more to the west there, but overall it's gone more to the south in the near term. Again, every single one of those ensemble members do have it making landfall somewhere in Madagascar. Mozambique gets a little bit more uncertain. Around half of them are showing it making landfall there. Alright, now going over to rainfall totals of the system that it could deliver across portions of Madagascar. Mainly just want to look at something like the German run real quick here. And actually we can show some of the rainfall totals on here. So, looking at the European AI model, it does want around 150 millimeters of rain to impact areas like Toamasina, and areas to the north up to around 260 to up to 300 millimeters of rain there. You can see this area in this purplish color. Those are areas that are 100 millimeters or more of rain being forecasted by that model run. Anything in the yellow color is 25 or greater. Now, showing a model like the American run, you could compare the European AI to the American, and you could see quite a big difference here with the American wanting tremendous rainfall to be happening on more northern portions of Toamasina there, with rainfall of up to 250, maybe some spots as high as 300 millimeters there. But areas like downtown Toamasina there, only up to around 50 millimeters. You could see the wide range of possibilities out of just these two models alone. Now, showing a model like the Canadian, it shows a lot more widespread areas of torrential rainfall. Some spots could see up to 500 millimeters of rainfall if this were to verify. You can see, though, accumulations all across Madagascar seeing upwards of 150, even 250 millimeters in those more bluish colors. Let's see here. Now, I did want to discuss some of the ensemble trends recently. I have noticed, though, that the models have been trending more to the north. Around, let's say, 48 hours ago, we were mainly expecting it to kind of go this way towards more southern Madagascar, but it has trended more north as of recently. It seems like the most recent one has trended a little bit more to the south. Then going over to specific model runs, let's see here. I would like to look at something like the Google DeepMind here. Just seeing how it's been trending. Again, we have seen it uptrend quite a bit here compared to what it was showing before as only around a Category 1 cyclone. It is now uptrending to around a Category 2 cyclone here. You can see it does have a secondary peak in the Mozambique channel right there. But in terms of location of the Google AI ensembles, you can see it has trended a little bit more to the south as of recently. The earlier runs really kept it more to the southwest trajectory. These latest ensembles have it moving more due west. Then eventually towards Mozambique, but it has been curving a little bit more to the south a bit earlier than the previous models were showing. Well, that's about it. Now let's answer some questions. Let's see here. Alright, just trying to pull this up. Right, I will be answering all of your questions now. Let's see here. Is it possible that... I'm sorry. Is it possible that Gezani hits the southern portions of Madagascar? Well, that is possible. If we take a look at like the percentages of where it could be going, like a look at the overall super ensembles, maybe. Let's see if we can pull up one of... that's not really the super ensembles that I'm talking about. Let me go back to this here. I think that this is a good look at it. In terms of the chances of it going over a certain area, or at least being within 150 kilometers of your location, anything in this blue color here is going to be over a 5% chance of it being near you, pretty much. So you can see areas in southern Madagascar have a lower chance of it than areas in, like, let's say, northern portions like northern Toamasina or central Toamasina. Those areas have a higher chance of it going directly over you. So really, southern Madagascar, I wouldn't really be worrying about too many impacts just yet. Maybe marginal impacts on the far northeastern portions of southern Madagascar, but really doesn't seem like it's gonna go too far south, is what I'd say. Right, you think it will re-strengthen over the Mozambique channel? I do. Majority of the ensembles are suggesting that it will re-intensify in the Mozambique channel here, and we can take a look at it on here. This chart over here, if you could see it on the right, you can see two peaks here. We have this one right here, then we have another one right there. So there's one around February 10th, and then there's one around February 14th-ish. So two peaks we're going to be most likely looking at. It depends on how well it survives by the time it enters the Mozambique channel. Is it a tropical depression? Is it a tropical storm? Or is it not even a tropical cyclone? Burlingame asks, does Gezani satellite presentation show any signs of improvements? Not really. I mean, the system hasn't been organizing itself that well recently. It's a little bit of a mess right now. Most of the convection is on the northern side. We could see this improve over time. And speaking of improving, we can take a look at some of the models. No, we can't. I forgot it just got named, so we can't really look at any good model initialization. From the HAFS models, the hurricane models is what I'm talking about. But to answer your question, though, it doesn't really seem like it's organized too much. It's kept its low-level center of circulation. It's been sustaining convection on the northern side. This is pretty much what I was expecting over the past 2 days, to really maintain tropical depression intensity, but it has intensified to a tropical storm as of a latest ASCAT satellite pass. Let's see, is Mitchell going to make landfall? Yes, and it is pretty close to making landfall if it hasn't already. It does seem like Mitchell has made a landfall earlier on some of these islands, and it's moving a little bit more to the west of where it was forecasted, headed towards Exmouth now, seems like. So it is expected to make landfall sometime within the next 12 hours, I would be saying, in portions of Australia. Burlingame asked, I wonder if we will get another Category 5 in the Southwest Indian Ocean this season after Grant. Still remember when some models predicted a Category 5 peak for Gezani? Well, I feel like the system does have the... I don't think it has the potential to become a... hold on, let me just do this. Okay, so I don't think that this system has the potential to become a Category 5. Just a little bit too short of time, and the conditions aren't that pristine in terms of dry air. But yeah, the Southwest Indian Ocean, it's possible that we get another Category 5. I just don't think it will be out of this system. All right, now I did want to mention though, you can see the one of these rain bands here that's approaching the island of Reunion here. A little bit of a decent band, not really much convection at all. You can't really see it too well on infrared here, just some light showers that are approaching Reunion. How much rain will Tropical Cyclone Mitchell bring to Australia? Well, if we go take a look at that, it varies from model to model. Something like the German model maybe shows up to 300 millimeters of rain. American model going a lot less bullish, up to around 150 millimeters of rain. And then a model like the European run up to 250 millimeters of rain. Wherever the core goes is going to be the heaviest rain. Fortunately, it's moving pretty quick once it starts moving over land. So rainfall shouldn't be too much of a concern. I still would be expecting up to slight impacts wherever the system goes. So things like localized flooding may affect low-lying areas. All right. Let's see here. That should be it for all the questions. So in terms of the next update on this system, it will likely be within the next 2 days. I don't really expect one to do one tomorrow, but there will probably be another one in about 2 days for Gezani. After that, I don't know when the next one will be. But as a reminder, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. We're trying to hit some sort of milestone by the end of the year, so subscribing always helps contribute to that. Well, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next update. Stay safe.